So a lot of hope then for football to get back to where it was before the pandemic. And while fans attending tonight will be glad to be there, there is still some trepidation. A BBC poll suggests there is some division still among supporters attending matches. Joe Linsky is here in the studio for us. And Joe, you've been looking at some of the data involved in this, haven't you?
Yeah, exactly, Gavin. The BBC's been collecting data with the polling company Comres around how football supporters feel right now as they're allowed back into stadiums. The key takeaway from today's Fans on Football poll is that opinion is more split than you might think, because of 2,100 match-going football fans, only 52% said now's the right time to go back into grounds. 45% said fans shouldn't go before a vaccine is widely available. Of course, we've had the breakthrough news today about the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine, but it may well be weeks or months before the whole population receives the jab. And 12% of fans said they'd never go to a match before that happens. Now, that unease may not be what the government expected, because 200,000 people signed a petition asking fans to be let back in, and Boris Johnson reportedly said he'd make the issue a personal priority as we came out of lockdown in England. That's what's led to tonight's historic return of supporters. But one group who may feel most reluctant to go back are those in the most high-risk health category. I've been speaking to one chair of a disabled supporters club in a Tier 2 area.
I think they're excited, but just a little bit apprehensive that it's the unknown. We don't know what plans the Southampton Football Club have got, although I'm sure it will be good and safe. There's the sort of getting into the stadium, getting away from the stadium. But once we're in the stadium, what happens if the supporters sort of start to move around and start shouting? Is there more risk? I've got friends that they would go to see Southampton play, any situation, but they're still not sure for the first few games anyway, whether they want to go back and risk it.
For some people, it's the only opportunity they ever get to actually leave their house and get out and get into the community. So it's a really important thing for the mental health for a lot of our disabled supporters. So mixed views. But the one thing I will say, football clubs have been very progressive in terms of making contact with their disabled fans. But in saying that, you cannot replace being sat in a stadium and cheering your own team on.
Well, there's also unease among some older age groups. Only 14%, that's 1 in 7 people over the age of 55, say they'd regularly go to games before the vaccine arrives. Interestingly, only just over a third of younger adults also say they'd regularly go to matches now. More than half of that older age group also say they're not going to any matches before the jab. Now, this poll's also looked into other issues in football during the pandemic. It asked fans who most of all should help clubs stay afloat. Opinions pretty split here. The most popular answer was that the leagues, the Premier League and the EFL themselves, should come up with the money. 22% of people polled said the government should provide funds, even though they say elite football is rich enough to fund itself. Finally, Comres have also asked fans how they feel about their clubs now. Pretty much all football matches have become a television product rather than a live experience since March, and yet still 28% of fans say they care more about their club now than before the pandemic, and only 10% of those polled say they care less about their club. Well, you can see more of those numbers on the BBC Sport website. And Gavin, I wonder if we'll see as much love for VAR when fans' opinions on that are released on the BBC Sport website on Friday.
Yeah,
for that one.
I can imagine that being, incredibly a hot subject to debate on Friday.